Hey everyone, my name is Matt, also known as UKAstroNut, and today in this video I'm going to give you an introduction to the world of chemistry, interactions, particles, atoms and things like this. So I'm going to start doing more videos on these kind of things. I'm going to try and explain what particle physics and chemistry and why things react with each other and how things like medication works and things like this, and it's all about chemistry. And I'll go down to a more fundamental level and why we have solid objects and where mass and things comes from. So this is all these kind of videos. So I start talking about atoms. I mean, what are atoms? So if you imagine you get something like this wooden table here and you cut it as fine as you could, you just kept cutting it smaller and smaller. Well, eventually you couldn't cut it any smaller. You just get a really small particle and you couldn't cut that. Well, that's basically an atom. So an atom is thought to be kind of one of the more fundamental things. You can't kind of get any smaller than it. And our view of this has changed, and actually we think now that we can do, but it's still one of the smallest things we can have. And this thing is so small that it's around 100,000th the width of a hair. So not the length of a hair, but the width of a hair. If you slice it into 100,000 slices, one of those would be about the width of an atom. So these things are tiny. So in this big block of wood here, there are billions and trillions of atoms, and they're all stuck together and held next to each other, and they're all like this, and then they're all in 3D layers like this. And it's all of these atoms that give things structure. So whether it's this solid wood table, or the air you breathe, or the water you get out of a tap, these are all atoms, but they're just sort of held in different ways. So some of them are held strong, whereas liquid particles kind of flow and move over each other. So if you remember your chemistry classes when you had the periodic table, you heard about the periodic table and different elements and things like this. And you remember things like carbon. So wood like this is made of carbon. It's just lots and lots of carbon atoms all lined up next to each other. Or oxygen, which is what you breathe in. Or hydrogen oxygen, which stick together and form a special kind of particle, and that's what you get out of your tap as water. So all these things are really, really important, and they're vital. They don't atoms only weigh a fraction of a kilogram. 1 times 10 to the minus 27 kilograms. So they're tiny. They barely even have any mass, but they're just so important for everything we do. I mean, everything to do with chemistry is just atoms and how atoms react with each other. So they're important because things like medication and things is basically the interaction of these particles with things in our body and with other chemicals and things. And so things like chemistry and particle physics are really, really fundamental. And if you heard about the Higgs boson recently, which is at CERN, the big particle collider, they've been trying to find this Higgs boson. And this is thought to be this particle that gives all other particles mass. Well, this is really, really important science, but also it's really interesting. I think a lot of the public kind of got involved with this and got really interested and want to find out more. So hopefully I can do a video on this as well and try to explain what the Higgs boson is. So basically, I just wanted in this video to explain kind of what particle physics and what atoms are. So you have to imagine that you have some kind of block of material or something, and that in fact this material isn't what you think it is. It isn't just a single block that you can cut up. When you look deeper into it, it's just made up of billions and billions of atoms, and these are all constantly interacting with each other and constantly moving and changing. And it's this fundamental thing of physics that this is how all of matter and everything is. It's all these atoms and particles that are interacting. And it's really, really interesting, but it can get a little bit confusing, and all this chemistry stuff can be confusing. But I'm going to try and do the videos at a really basic level to begin with, and I'll try and keep them really simple all the way through. And I'll start at the beginning, and I'll keep moving all the way up and do more and more detailed things, and you can just learn more about particle physics and atoms and things like this. I'm also going to be using Lego, which is great, because I've always thought that Lego is a really fun way of trying to explain how particles work, because particles are basically just blocks that stick together and they form bigger and bigger things. So Lego is just a really, really good way of explaining how to do particle physics by just sticking all these things together, basically. So I hope you like this video. It's just an introduction, but check out the rest of the videos and you can learn a little bit more. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave some comments. And I'll see you guys soon.